Today, we are going to start a brand new unit, and we are going to start with a lesson on ratios and rates. So we need to define a couple terms. In today's lesson, we have 4 terms that we will be learning about and that are very important to the next 2.5 weeks of lessons. Right. The first term is called a ratio. And a ratio is when we compare the quantities of 2 things. And we usually think of that in terms of division. So a ratio, we could say something like 12 to 7. Now, over the last couple of months, we've been looking at this and say, well, that's an improper fraction. And yes, but when we talk about a ratio, we are comparing them. So we would actually say 12 to 7. We could also write that as in English words, 12 to 7. And we could write it one other way. This one's kind of cool. 12 to 7 with a colon right there. These all are read the exact same way. So the ratio 12 to 7 could be written 12 to 7 or 12 to 7. Those are just the different ways of writing a ratio. So let me give you an example. Over here, I drew 6 stars and 4 circles. So if I want to write a ratio that compares the 2 quantities, I could say I want the number of stars to the number of circles. Okay, that is a ratio. I'm comparing 2 amounts. And in this case, I have 6 stars and 4 circles. So we can say that the ratio between the number of stars to the number of circles is 6 to 4. We could also we could look at the same example and write, what if I wanted to compare the number of circles to the total number of objects? Again, comparing 2 objects. So the number of circles is 4, and my total number is 10. So when I compare circles to everything, it is 4 to 10. Or I could write it 4 to 10 or 4 to 10. We can write them different ways. Normally, when you get a problem and if you keep the same format, so if they start in the English word method, your answer will be similar. It would not be wrong to do it other ways. We just got to keep it the same just to make it all look the same. Okay, now we're going to look at equivalent ratios. It's kind of like making equivalent fractions. So let's take our friend here, 6 to 4. If I wanted to make an equivalent ratio, I could do what we're used to. We could divide each one of those by 2 if we wanted to. And here we would get 3 to 2. Not 3 halves, 3 to 2. So it looks a lot like reducing or simplifying fractions. We can also make an equivalent ratio by multiplying. So we could also multiply. I'm just picking 2 for just to be easy. 6 times 2 is 12, and 4 times 2 is 8. So this is an equivalent ratio, 12 to 2, or 12 to 8, I'm sorry. So 6 to 4, 3 to 2, and 12 to 8 are all equivalent ratios. And I will show you in future lessons why we would need to do that. Let's do some equivalent ratios here. Let's use this, what looks like we're telling time, but it's not. It's the word 2, even though we put a colon. So if we wanted to make some equivalent ratios from 4 to 10, we could divide each of these by 2. We can. So that would be 2 to 5. We could multiply. Let's do something other than 2. Let's multiply by 3. So 4 to 10 could be 12 to 30. These are all equivalent ratios. ratios. Okay. So now our next term is called a rate. A rate is when we compare two values that represent different amounts or different forms of measurement. Okay. We might think of a rate as miles per gallon or miles per hour or price per pound. Okay, let me give you an example. Say I have a 2-liter bottle of soda. I'm buying a 2-liter bottle of soda, and it costs $1.98 for a 2-liter. Okay, so a bottle of soda costs $1.98. We know there's 2 liters in there. So we can say, we can write a ratio, $1.98 to 2 liters. Okay, that is a ratio, but it is also a rate. We're comparing an amount of money to a volume. Okay, so we have, and we could write that $1.98 to 2 liters, or we could say $1.98 to 2 liters. Okay, any way is considered a ratio. Now we have a special kind of rate, and that is called a unit rate. And a unit rate is when the bottom number or the second number is 1. Okay, so in other words, like for this one, if we took $1.98 for 2 liters, okay, we want to come up with an equivalent ratio where this bottom number, or if we wrote it this way, the second number is 1. So in this case, what we're going to do is kind of like getting equivalent fractions. Okay, so 2 liters to 1 liter, we are dividing by 2. I'm just going to write that there. We are going to do the same thing to the first number of our ratio. So $1.98 divided by 2 is 99 cents or $0.99. So this is our unit rate. It is whatever this value is, and this is always a 1. So there is our introduction to ratios and rates.